And just for those who just came in and for those who are coming in, Chef James Bickmore-Hutt with lentils.org is going to share with us some really amazing and creative recipes for plant-forward cuisine. Chef, we're 1 minute in. Folks are joining. I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. How we doing? Welcome to the Thunderdome that we are currently referring to my living room. I am, if only you could see behind the camera at this point. I have 3 kids under the age of 3, so that is our funny nickname for our house right now. I'm going to go through, a couple of different applications of lentils in where you might otherwise find them in some mainstream menu items, and then also some really great familiar favorites, and then maybe a couple of applications that you haven't thought of just quite yet. Really what we're talking about is going kind of beyond the blend, right? That idea of, that wildly successful and now accepted idea of blending mushrooms with an animal-based protein in order to kind of extend that emulsion out or bring more umami to the base, help kind of make a more mindful and plant-forward choice for our consumers. However, really what I want to talk to you about is if we go beyond that blend, if we take that idea of incorporating plant-based protein back into that blend, where does lentils play into that, right? So really what I'm going to talk to you about today are a couple of different blends that I've loved to play with. I'm going to show you a couple of different concepts. And really what we're going to be focusing on today are a couple of mainstays. Burger patties, crumbles, and then how to really kind of take those 2 emulsions and work them across your entire menu to really make lentils as kind of friendly and suitable as possible. So before I kind of get into it, I wanted to kind of show you what I'm working with today. Predominantly, I'm focusing on our whole red lentils. So I'm going to hold them up to the camera here that's got my focus on, my cooking space. We did a lot of talk yesterday around, how do we really truly utilize lentils in a appropriate manner where they stand up and represent themselves as best as possible from a texture standpoint, as well as a flavor standpoint. How do we alleviate kind of that consumer expectation of, lentil only has to be, tender, or it can only be in a soup. And usually if it's been cooked for a long time, it might have broken down if it's been sitting on a hot line for a very long period of time. How do we get past all those logistical challenges? So really what I have, those whole red lentils are probably the best example of, a really well-structured lentil in that they have this great exterior seed coat that hold up really nicely in terms of shape. Their color seems to hold really beautifully. I've cooked these al dente, and then I shocked them under cold water in order for me to utilize them in my prep for the rest of the dishes today. So when we think of emulsions and we think of burgers and stuff like that, really what we're thinking of is trying to make a healthy choice for our consumers without necessarily alienating their palate, right? So I've got a couple of burger options to show you today. I'm going to kind of rattle through them nice and quick because I know that we're kind of short on time. So I have 2 burgers. Now, I'm going to try and tilt my plate so that you can see kind of like that cross-sectional vision. But this burger, amazingly enough, while it looks, presentable and beautiful, this is a completely vegan burger patty. And what I mean about our vegan burger patty, this patty was created utilizing whole red lentils and then a little bit of flour and pureed sweet potato. And then I've utilized some roasted mushrooms in order to bring some of that umami back, and then also some miso paste to bring more of that umami as well. So they create a great patty just like this, right? They color beautifully, they hold really nicely, kind of form and structure to them, right? At this point, we're utilizing our lentils for both, one, their satiety from all that great fiber and nutrient density of protein, but then we're also utilizing them in a food processor to create a little bit of bind and grab in the patty. So not only are they forming that great nutrient density, they're a great function as part of this whole recipe as well.
And Chef, let me ask you a question. The title of our presentation is really around innovating with whole foods. Why would you want to do this, do something like this versus maybe buy a branded product?
Well, so we see all these amazing kind of like plant analogs kind of coming out, these wondrous analogs that are preaching towards, utilizing no animal-based protein whatsoever. And to their credit, they're doing an amazing job. But what they're maybe bringing to the table are a laundry list of ingredients that people aren't necessarily familiar with, right? So how do we kind of move past that idea of, yes, we don't want to necessarily eat animal-based protein every single day of the week. Yes, we want to make the healthier choice. Yes, we want to be better stewards of the environment and the globe. But how do we do that in a way that we still recognize the food that we're eating? And so this burger patty that I created, it is all recognizable ingredients. None of it is strange and alien. All of it is kind of focused around the utilization of whole, real food that comes from a farmer, that comes from a recognizable source. I think it's one of those things where you want to feel good about what you're eating, right? And so with this kind of burger patty, yes, it doesn't have that animal-based protein in it, but it still delivers big on protein. It delivers big on texture and taste. We utilize the miso. We utilize the roasted mushrooms from all those umami notes that you still crave. And then utilizing whole lentils and pulsing them a couple of times in a food processor, we try to emulate then that pockets of lean and pockets of fat that you get from an animal.
Yeah, that texture is really important, isn't it? I mean, that kind of creating that textural experience in a product like this.
Without a doubt. So I'm glad we kind of ran straight into texture, because when I think of texture in burger patties, one of the kind of hot things right now is that idea of a smash burger, right? I think definitely populated or kind of made popular by, the Shake Shacks of the world and whatnot. So I made a little smash burger here. I kind of topped it with a little bit of ketchup and whatnot. I got 2 smash burger patties on top of a piece of lettuce on a really nice toasted brioche bun, kind of slapped with a piece of American cheese in the middle of it. But this is that idea of taking your ground chuck, that chub that you might be purchasing in-house already, and still forming those pucks that you would otherwise form for a smash burger on a really hot plancha, pressing it nice and hard. But as I'm pressing it, I actually press in some pre-cooked whole red lentils. And then I also press in some caramelized onions and a little bit, in this case, I used a little bit of dried oregano for a little bit of great season and flavor. What the lentils do is they keep the protein density of the burger nice and high. They allow you to kind of maybe use a little bit less ground animal-based protein when you're forming your puck. And then also incorporating the caramelized onions and the lentils still keeps the moisture content nice and high on a really thin patty. So the lentils are going to crisp up beautifully on a really hot plancha. I did mine in a cast iron skillet today because I'm at home. I don't have a big old plancha at home. But I got my cast iron skillet nice and ripping hot. And so I kind of pressed those really hard, kind of the double spatula method. And I got them really nice and thin and crispy. Kind of it's that stealth health movement. It's that idea of kind of incorporating lentils in a way that is familiar, right? Still through the service vessel, but surprising in terms of texture. The lentils really bring that great crispness to the burger. They still keep that nice crust that you get from a smash burger when cooked really well, but they still keep the moisture content nice and high, because we all know that if you overcook a smash burger, they can go from, crispy, juicy, delicious to, eating a piece of shoe leather really, really quickly, right? So the caramelized onions and the lentils really help that really, really well.
Chef, I really like the smash burger concept. And what I love about it is you could even use a higher quality, smaller amount of beef, right? And then I made these at home, your recipe, and we loved them. But then you're piling on, 2 ounces of lentils and a bunch of caramelized onions. You get that crispness, you get that savory flavor. I mean, I could see this on any menu, even a pub menu, where it's not so in your face around plant-based foods, but it's a way to reduce that red meat and add in some good. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to do it. You're definitely kind of increasing the perceivable value, right, of your burger at the end of the day, while still keeping it cost affordable for the operator. I think we got some great questions kind of coming through at the moment. I've got that kind of like on my side panel as well. I'm trying to make sure that I kind of address everybody. Alma, I love your question about the lentil burger, any gluten-free flours. You know what, amazingly enough, I've utilized both kind of lentil flour. I've utilized an almond flour. There's rice flour. There's actually some great alternatives to kind of just still adding a little bit of that bind to that vegan burger. And I mean, utilizing the lentil flour, we have, some kind of really cool sauces that are starting to kind of permeate their way through the American the American distribution market. But they all work just beautifully. I mean, I think, yes, the final weight of the vegan burger is about 5 ounces, 4 to 5 ounces. Because of those lentils, because of the sweet potato, because of the mushrooms, you got a lot of really great satiating ingredients in there. Then I'm going to provide that long burning energy throughout the day. So the patty doesn't need to be very big. They kind of form nicely, and then they sit beautifully on top of that brioche bun type thing. Great question, Alma. Thank you so much for kind of clocking on in. Okay, so I'll keep moving, and I'll come back to any other questions, or if Jeff sees any that I should specifically keep talking about, I'll come back and talk to them.
Keep going, Chef. I'll answer a few in the chat here as you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is that idea of a crumble, right? Another kind of stock ingredient that we can kind of utilize across multiple different menu items. And the idea of a crumble is fun because not only does it mean that you can either use an animal-based protein and extend it out with those lentils for both the pockets of lean and pockets of fat that I was talking to you about earlier, or you can then go as far as emulating an entire animal-based protein crumble, while from this case, we're actually going to do an entire vegan vegetarian-based one as well. So the crumble that I'm going to demonstrate today is an equal combination of whole red lentils, finely chopped walnuts, and roasted and chopped mushrooms. And so equal parts. This crumble that we're going to just lightly heat in the pan, because it is fully cooked, right? Roasted mushrooms, the walnuts, and the whole cooked lentils. We're going to spice those with, a great spice blend that we kind of wrote specifically for this application, utilizing chili powder, smoked paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of cumin, and then some dried oregano. And adding this crumble, we can then throw this into a tomato-based sauce for a fantastic bolognese. We can throw it into a taco, right? And have these amazing street tacos kind of thrown together really nice and quickly. Today's application, I'm going to throw it inside of a burrito. We're going to make a great breakfast burrito utilizing this crumble. And the great thing is that we're still hitting all those same notes, again, that you would get from an animal-based protein, right? Umami notes, texture from the crunch of either the walnuts coming through, bringing that great nutty flavor that you sometimes get from minced pork, right? And then you also get the great umami notes coming from the mushrooms that we still love in these blends. And then, of course, the protein density and the fiber density from the lentils. So I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in my pan today. You could use a vegetable oil, canola oil. Really, I suppose at this point, because we've got a lot of moisture still in the mix from the lentils and the mushrooms, we don't need a whole lot of fat in order to kind of help that mouthfeel. That mouthfeel is going to really still be there. So maybe a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons in our pan, just to kind of get a nice little bit of slickness. Hopefully my pan doesn't make too much noise once I got it going. But in this mix, just because I like a little bit of heat and because this is going to formulate my lunch for the rest of the day, I'm going to actually add a couple of teaspoons of harissa straight into the mix as well. It's given a nice little punch. And that's going to translate really beautifully to the bolognese that I'm going to finish in order to plate for you today using the same crumble blend. So straight into my pan with my nice warm oil. I got those equal parts of lentils, roasted mushrooms, and finely chopped walnuts. And so this crumble is super easy. It sits, beautifully kind of like on a prep line. And because it's all fully cooked, it's really fast to kind of bring it all back up to temp and safe to eat standards. So I'm going to get my pan going nice and quick here. So again,
Chef,
yes, sir.
While you're talking, maybe talk about this recipe and the previous. Have you ever tried any of these recipes with kids?
Well, Having worked from home now for the last year and a bit, I have probably the most judgmental 3-year-olds and 2-year-olds that you could possibly imagine. But they now do understand that when I'm making recipes for the CIA, they understand that it's better than normal food, which is great. So yeah, I mean, I test these out. I have my 3 kids here at home that are very discerning palates, but they seem to get through this really beautifully. We tend to obviously substitute, kind of like a vegan or vegetarian crumble like this in with a regular traditional bolognese pretty frequently, just to kind of keep their palate expanding. And they never notice, right? I mean, they're still really happy to kind of consume it and go through it. And then I've actually had my nieces from Chicago visiting as well, and they're 7 and 6 and 8, I should say. One just turned 8, 6 and 8 respectively, and they love this as well. I mean, it's kind of like, it's one of those things where so long as you provide them a familiar vessel or familiar flavor profile, a familiar kind of format of food, there's less argument and less, kind of obstacle around it.
Thank you.
Of course. So I'm going to put my spice blend straight into the top of this, make sure it gets all evenly incorporated. And this is where it's going to start smelling really well, really good. So
once again, that's lentils, mushrooms, and walnuts, correct?
Yes, lentils, mushrooms, walnuts, equal parts of each of everything. This is kind of where you start getting those flavors that are reminiscent of, a great kind of like Mexican taco filling or a really well spiced and seasoned kind of minced meat prior to adding your tomato paste and working in your tomato base for a bolognese. Those flavors are really fantastic aromas that you can still emulate with all this as well. The mushrooms are really working for you because they're bringing a lot more moisture. Same with the lentils as well. Garrett, welcome back.
Welcome. So hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it is about that time. So I definitely just wanted to say thank you to lentils.org for making this special session possible. We do have to wrap it up a little bit. You guys can head to the sessions tab from here. And it looks like we do have about 2 minutes left, so I'll kick it back to you guys for the last minute or two.
That's plenty of time. All right, so because my filling is already cooked, I'm going to finish it up with some shredded cheese, some roasted bell peppers, and some potatoes. And if you're really feeling lucky, you could probably put a nice little hit of hot sauce into this bad boy. But I'm double tortilling it up because, again, this is my lunch. But there is your breakfast burrito right there. And into our...
That looks great.
So I've already got my tomato base kind of going and cooking. I'm going to throw my crumble into it, and that is finishing my bolognese.
And we just like to remind everyone, if you have questions, you can reach out to us, ask us a question. There's several of us from lentils.org here at the conference. We have all these recipes on our website as well, a variety of vegan options and also blended options. And please also join us a little bit later. We're going to be going through a cool presentation, moving beyond the blend. So beyond just burgers and mushrooms, what else can we blend? And of course, we're lentils.org. So we're going to show you a lot of great lentil recipes there as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
See you later, everyone. All that food, how's that?
Great job, Chef. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. We really appreciate it. We hope you do try it out in your school as well. Yeah. Thank you, Adante. Appreciate it.
All these recipes are formulated to serve around 10 servings, easily scalable, and we're more than happy to kind of come by and do any type of training with you. I'm going to keep liberally talking because they haven't kicked us yet, so...
Yeah, keep talking. So the bolognese, so this crumble becomes something really versatile, right, Chef? You can use it in a variety of areas on your menu. I got you now, Chef. Thank you. Oh, there's Martin Breslin. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate the comment. So is that the bolognese?
That's the bolognese. Pushed up nicely. So nice and hot and steaming. That kind of like beautiful vegan crumble in there. Thrown straight into that pasta sauce over the top of our pasta. I got our breakfast burrito here with a really great cross section, right? Delivering big color and visual, those pre-cooked potatoes, still that crumble in there, those fire roasted bell peppers and the cheese, still same flavor notes, same texture notes that you would otherwise assume. And then our 2 burgers as well. So I mean, I think it's one of those things where taking the common blend, taking that kind of idea of an animal-based protein and stretching it really nicely with whole red lentils in this case makes a lot of sense on a lot of different portions of our menu. So yeah, please make sure that you check out our lentils.org page for more recipes. I think that's where you're going to find a lot of great inspiration from us and a lot of great recipes that are touring you around the world. And a lot of very appropriate recipes for all different types of segments, whether it's, QSR, a sports bar, right, with the smash burger. I think that would be a very applicable application, power bowls, or any kind of like really great global cuisine that is still really familiar in terms of format.
Perfect. Thanks, Chef. And as folks are leaving, if you have more questions, please email us directly at info@lentils.org. Thanks very much.
We don't want it to end. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a great day.